Hey Zhongguo, how's it going? I've been making so many positive videos lately. You know, most of my video subjects are so happy and positive that I decided it's time for me to do a serious video. And it is a serious video, but I am going to start it off with a bit of a light-hearted situation. I would like you to take a look at this beggar over here. See this poor lady on crutches asking for alms. Then the police turn up because, you know, work shift's over and tell them all to scram because it's 5:30 and time to clean the streets. And, well, here she is walking home. So what brought on this video is I went to the temple again with my wife for the Chinese New Year celebrations. And of course, the superstitions over there dictate that, you know, giving money is going to bring you money. So, and fortune, of course. So for instance, you have all these people throwing coins at this little pagoda, which is kind of like a wishing well. If you get the money in there, it will apparently bring you money later. And of course, it's kind of hilarious to watch the guy trying to keep up with all the coins, trying to sweep them all. By the way, you think this bike sharing thing's ever going to get better? I don't know. Anyway, so it's quite interesting to watch. And of course, as soon as you leave the temple, the beggars know that this is the best, most lucrative time of the year, because if they go out there and they beg right outside the temple, people will basically be between a rock and a hard place, because if they don't give money to beggars, it's possibly going to break their fortune, good luck streak. But by giving money to the beggars, you know, it's going to ensure that their luck and fortune comes back to them. So it's kind of like a circus every year. You'll get all these disfigured beggars and all the beggar gangs set up over there, and it's quite hilarious to watch. For instance, see these beggars spotted that someone gave some money, so they go in for the chase, and they chase and they try to get some of the cash, and then, oh well, I failed. Time to stop pretending being disabled. Let me just eat my bread. You know what I mean? However, you know, there's a despicable, terrible side to this, and this is what the topic of this video is all about, and that is human trafficking, child kidnapping. And I have to bring this to light because it annoys the absolute crap out of me, and there's something that you can do about it. So let's talk about the problem before we talk about the solution. Here's the problem. Beggars and beggar gangs use children for sympathy. Of course, if you have what looks like a starving child or a dirty child or a destitute family, people are more liable to give money. And so what you'll see, like over here, is you'll see the beggars pushing on these little children, pushing them towards the people coming out of the temple. And these grubby little children are taught to go and hang on their clothes or go and beg for the money. And of course, the children get money a lot easier than the adults. Not only that, they'll set up the sympathy thing, like this blind woman with this almost newborn baby just sitting there, you know, and everyone's like, oh, well, you know, she has a family to support and look how poor she is, and, you know, let's give her some money type thing. But stop, because most of these children do not belong to these beggars. And at first, you know, I also fell for this, and when I first came to China 12 years ago, I quite often see sort of what appeared to be a homeless mother and child on the street, eating out of the garbage or doing something like this. I'd feel sorry for them and I'd give them money. But something happened that changed my mind. And it's very serious, and so I need you all to listen. So about 3 years ago, I was riding the Shenzhen metro. I was still working back then, so I had to go back and forth to the same place. And one day I was on the metro and I saw a lady come onto the train. She's wearing a fairly okay overcoat, got onto the train, took the overcoat off, and underneath she was wearing sort of tatty, ragged clothes, and she had a child on her back. Now the reason she's wearing the overcoat is, you know, begging is actually forbidden on the Shenzhen metro, so she was just wearing that to get past the security checkpoint. Once she was on the train though, coat came off, begging bowl came out, and she was asking money from the passengers, which kind of annoyed me because, you know, you don't want a filthy beggar, for lack of a better word, coming up and touching you with their bowl as you take your commute to work. Thing is, I noticed something a little strange. The baby on her back, well, I should say child, was probably less than 2 years old, but was silent, not making a single sound. It was kind of half awake, looked groggy, looked drugged. And I thought that this was totally not correct. So I took some photos of her. So I snapped a photo, and then I snapped another photo, and she tried to smack the camera out of my hand, which again told me that something was definitely wrong here. So anyway, I didn't give her any money, but I took the photos. So the next day, another woman came onto the train. Exactly the same MO. She had the coat, she had the grubby clothes, she had the seemingly drugged child on her back of the same age. And it didn't click to me back then, but it was actually the same child. And she did the whole begging thing, and I snapped off some photos. And I was starting to feel very uneasy, and I was telling the other passengers in the metro, don't give them money, don't give them money. They're a gang, they're doing this together. And I even actually saw them on my way back, all sitting, sort of, you know, when you get off the train, they have some chairs to wait, sitting together, the woman from the previous day, and this new woman, and another woman, and they're all sitting there like eating lunch and talking together. And I was really starting to get a bit upset. It was only when I went home and I actually looked through the photos that I realized that they were using the same child. And this made me infuriated. So the following day, when I saw her, the woman came back on, because they were just doing this every day, I actually physically grabbed her and I took her off of the train. I called the security guards, and you know, to their credit, the Shenzhen Metro security acted very quickly. They came down, they brought a policeman down there, and I showed them the photos on my phone of this woman from the previous day and from that day, because I took more photos. And I showed them photos of the other woman from before. And they asked me to give them a copy, so I Bluetoothed them a copy of all the photos from my phone, and they took her away, and they arrested her, and I never saw them on the metro again. But what I did see a couple of days later was this big sign that they put up at the metro saying, if you see, you know, women like this doing this, do not give them any money. So I presume that they detained them, arrested them, and sent them back to their hometowns or whatever they did. And hopefully the child, who I suspect was kidnapped, was sent back. Definitely drugged, no doubt about it, because no sort of 1.5-year-old child sits there groggily rolling their eyes, not making a sound when they're being carted around a noisy subway cart. So this was my first sort of real introduction to this whole child kidnapping, human trafficking sort of idea, because, you know, before that I'd heard about kidnapping. And, you know, you do hear about it quite often in China. People talk about, in the rural areas, there's a big problem with children being kidnapped. And of course I always thought, you know, it's just blown out of proportion, you know, it's just nonsense. But, you know, you start to look into it and you start to see videos of it, because there are tons of videos. I'm going to show you some videos now, and for those of you who are sensitive, skip this part, because it's security camera footage of children being snatched off the street, etc., and it certainly upsets me, so it very may well upset you. So if you don't want to watch it, skip ahead about a minute to skip past this, because I have to talk about the solution to all of this, right? Okay, so what's happening is children get kidnapped for various reasons around China. Number one, because you may have people that can't have children or who are specifically looking for a male heir or something like that, and they just can't conceive, or the one-child policy has prevented them from getting that. There's tons and tons of different reasons, but one of the big reasons is kidnapping children in order to use them in these sort of beggar gangs and these beggar rackets and various other nefarious things. Obviously there's sex trafficking and stuff as well, but it's just a horrible situation. So what do you do? What can you do? I told you there's a solution. Well, this is a widespread problem in China, and because it's so widespread, there are websites set up where, if you spot, and this is something that is encouraged, and I encourage all of, my Chinese friends and Chinese subscribers, and of course, any of my foreign friends who happen to live here. If you do see a beggar with a child, snap a photo, okay? Just snap a photo. You can go to, I'm going to link the websites down below. Of course, they're all in Chinese, but if you have a Chinese friend, they can help you out. And you post the photo there and you tell them where you saw the child. And this is a website where parents who've had their children kidnapped can go. And they go there and they keep an eye out to see if their child turns up. Because it's quite a common thing. It's actually quite worrying how common it is. But they can go and hopefully find their child. And of course, there are tons of success stories of kidnapped children being reunited with their biological parents, and it's very heartwarming and all that. But that's what you can do, is you can help these children, just like what I've done. I've taken stills of the beggar footage that I took in Guangzhou, and those stills are going up on the websites. Do it, guys. And if any of you Wu Mao nationalists give me shit for this video, it's just going to prove how much your national pride comes above your own children, you heartless pieces of trash. So pay attention. Prove it. Prove you care about your own children. Take photos of the beggars. Don't walk past and ignore them. Don't be cowardly. These are your children. Take photos. Post them to the websites. Don't allow this practice to continue. And on that note, I'd like to say that the Guangzhou police did a fantastic job this year. They had the whole area cordoned off. The previous year there were tons of children there. I made a story actually about what happened, but I was so enraged at the time that I was instead of pressing record, I was switching the camera off every time I thought I was recording in these beggars' faces. And of course I lost the footage. Still have the story, but I lost the footage. But it was way worse last year. This year there was a much bigger police presence at the temple. They even put up sort of police fences outside, and the police were coming all the time to chase the beggars away. Of course they come back, but they kept chasing them away. So a huge, massive thumbs up to the Guangzhou police for doing a fantastic job this year and actually making it better, because this time the children that were begging, although I saw one or two grubby ones, the other ones there were fairly well dressed. They weren't being molested. They were let to just kind of play around and be a part of the sort of scene, be a part of the show, but they weren't being forced into begging and not being pushed into crowds of people like I saw the previous year. So good job. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching this wonderful, very happy and positive video of mine. I do feel very strongly about this because, of course, I do love children and I do love China, and I really wish these stupid piece of... Anyway. I just wish nothing but the worst on these people that take advantage of children. That's all I can say. But Happy New Year of the Dog, guys. Can't wait to see you in the next video. And as always, you know the drill. Unlike those piece of shit beggars, stay awesome.